Madam Moderator, Excellencies, dear colleagues, let me thank the organizers for creating this space for all of us, for reiterating our united commitment to promote the human rights of older persons. We celebrate the International Day of Older Persons, which is marked on the 1st of October. This year, as we already have talked, it was already told, this year the atmosphere of celebration is truly well rooted as it grows on the Resolution 58/13 adopted on the 3rd of April earlier this year. The fact that this resolution has been supported by over 80 UN member states and has been afterwards adopted by Human Rights Council by consensus gives good basis for further deliberations on collaboration of different stakeholders on drafting a legally binding instrument on the human rights of older persons. Human Rights Council invited equally states, relevant United Nations organizations, agencies, funds and programs, national human rights institutions, civil society, especially older persons and their representative organizations, to contribute actively to this process as it was stated in point 6 of this resolution. NHRIs are among them also because of their earlier engagement in this process. Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions, GANHRI, which represents 118 national human rights institutions from all regions, has been actively taking part in informal negotiations in March earlier this year, which led to adoption to this historic resolution. Moreover, our dedicated working group on the rights of older persons has been engaged in this process both in New York and in Geneva. NHRIs have a kind of unique role, especially NHRIs of A status, which confirms their full compliance with so-called UN Paris principles. Based on those principles, NHRIs enjoy broad functions by providing advice, reporting and monitoring, handling complaints and human rights education, among other responsibilities. NHRIs are funded from the public budget, but they remain independent from governments, which is set out in legislation or the constitution. Thanks to those and other principles, NHRIs build bridges between citizens, civil society and governments by providing governments with their analysis of complaints or desk research on human rights. NHRIs build also bridges between international law and the legal framework at national level by promoting knowledge and understanding of the former in the national context. And without a dedicated international instrument, legal protections for older persons remain fragmented and inconsistent. As a result, discrimination, exclusion, and violations persist. A dedicated convention would provide clear international standards specific to older persons, strengthen national protection frameworks, and equip NHRIs with the necessary tools to advance the rights of older persons. Legal standards in this regard should serve as a point of reference and clear guidance for all stakeholders, NHRIs and governments included, on understanding the direction of further changes both in legal and policy frameworks. For now, on the way towards the Convention on the Human Rights of Older Persons, NHRIs use their institutionally recognized mandate and internationally approved expertise as the accredited expert bodies on human rights. NHRIs are also thankful for the reports of the UN independent experts on the enjoyment of all human rights by older persons, for a significant source of reference in their everyday work on promoting human rights of older persons. I would like to focus briefly on one of the findings of the independent expert, Dr. Claudia Mahler, namely, as we can read in her report on ageism and age discrimination, published in 2021, and I quote, "Ageism is to a large extent unconscious, socially accepted, and pervasive in different aspects of society," end of quote. This challenge requires long-term work on uncovering those mechanisms, pointing out and naming examples of discriminatory behaviors, social norms, or legal provisions. And this naming is a part of this endeavor. NHRIs are already engaged in this process in a good collaboration with civil society and organizations of older people. This expertise and experience of NHRIs may also be of use in the process of drafting a new legally binding instrument. The deeper understanding of ageism and how it affects enjoyment of the human rights in older age, the more adequate principles and provisions will be enclosed in the new instrument. NHRIs stand ready to contribute to this process in a most efficient way. Thank you.